Welcome to this video. In this video we're going to be doing about Italy. This is episode 3 of this series. 3 of 37. So just start off with a random fact. So this is the Roman Colosseum. Built from 70 to 80 AD, the Roman Colosseum could hold between 50,000 and 80,000 people for public events and gladiator fights. There it is there. Second, Il Duomo di Firenze is a church in Florence built in the Gothic style. There it is there. St. Peter's Square is a large plaza in front of St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City, where the Pope lives. 4. Pasta is a popular food in traditional Italian cuisine. Fact 5. A family on the Italian island of Sicily takes a passeggiata, an evening stroll. So there's the map of Italy. So let's begin then. So Italy is a boot-shaped peninsula that juts out of southern Europe into the Adriatic Sea, Tyrrhenian Sea, Mediterranean Sea, and other waters. So these are some fast facts. So the official name is the Italian Republic. The form of the government is Republic. The capital is Rome. The population is 62 million. The official language is Italian. They use euro for their currency. Their area 116,000 square miles, which is 201,000 square kilometers. Their major mountain ranges are the Alps and the Apennines. The major rivers are the Po, Adige, Arno, and Tiber. So, its location has played an important role in its history. The seas surround Italy and mountains crisscross the interior, dividing it into regions. The Alps cut across the top of the country and are streaked with long, thin, glacial lakes from the western end of the Alps. The Apennines Mountains stretch south down the entire peninsula. West of the Apennines are wooded hills that are home to many of Italy's historic cities, including Rome. In the south are hot, dry coastlands and fertile plains where olives, almonds, and figs are grown. So, people and culture. Since the rise of the Roman Empire, Italian art, architecture, and culture have had an influence around the world. Famed Italian painters include Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo. Italy is also at the heart of the Catholic Church, which is governed from Vatican City, a city-state surrounded by Rome. The family is at the centre of Italy's society. Young people often live at home until they are in their 30s, even if they have a job. When their parents retire, they often go to live with their children. Nature. For 20 centuries, Italians and their ancestors have cleared fields, grazed livestock, and hunted wild animals. Forests that once covered large areas are gone, but the country's remote places and many national parks still have wilderness largely untouched by humans. The lower slopes of Italy's Alps are covered with forests. Above these woodlands are meadows that explode with specially adapted wildflowers in the spring. Throughout Italy, millions of birds stop to rest during their annual migration to Africa. The government and economy. In Italy, politics can often be exciting and noisy. Crowds gather in the streets to protest government policies or to show support for their party. Since World War II, Italy has enjoyed an economic transformation. Industry grew, and by the mid 1960s, Italy had become one of the world's leading economies. Its main exports are clothing, shoes, food, and wine. Okay, so history. Italy's location on the Mediterranean linked it with the trade routes of the ancient civilizations that developed in the region, with the city of Rome rise to power. The Italian became the centre of a huge empire that lasted for centuries. Italy's first societies emerged around 1200 BC. Around 800 BC, Greeks settled in the south, and Etruscans arose in central Italy. By the 6th century BC, the Etruscans had created a group of states called Etruria. Meanwhile, Latin and Sabine peoples south of Etruria merged to form a strong city-state called Rome. Etruscan kings ruled Rome for nearly 100 years, but Romans tossed out the Etruscans in 510 BC and went on to conquer the world peninsula. They then set out to build a vast empire. At its great extent, in AD 117, the Roman Empire stretched from Portugal to Syria to Britain to North Africa. The first sole emperor of Rome, Octavian, took power in 27 BC and took the name Augustus Caesar. For more than 400 years, the empire flourished, but by the 4th century AD, it was in decline. In 395, the world was split in two, and in 476, Germanic tribes from the north toppled the last emperor. In the 12th century, Italian city-states began to rise again and grow rich on trade, but Italy remained a patchwork of territories, some of which were controlled by foreign dynasties. Beginning in 1859, an uprising forced the foreigners out, and in 1861, the Kingdom of Italy was proclaimed. In 1914, Italy took the side of the United Kingdom and the US in World War I, but was left in poverty at war's end. Benito Mussolini and his fascist party rose to power, promising to restore the Roman Empire. He ruled as a dictator and entered World War II on the side of Germany and Japan. He was later captured and executed. So let's find more about ancient Rome then. Let's find more about it. Okay. Tens of thousands of Romans take their seats in an enormous stadium made of stone and concrete. It's the year 80, and these people are entering the newly built Colosseum for the first time. Men wearing togas and women in long dresses called stolas will spend the next 100 days watching gladiator games and wild animal fights to celebrate the opening of the amphitheatre. These ancient people were living in the centre of a vast empire that spanned across Europe, Northern Africa, and parts of the Middle East, lasting over 1,000 years. The ancient Roman civilization contributed to modern languages, government, architecture, and more. History of ancient Rome. Around the 9th or 10th century BC, Rome was just a small town on the Tiber River in what's now central Italy. One myth says that the town was founded by two brothers, Romulus and Remus, who were raised by a wolf. For about 500 years, the area was ruled by a series of kings as it grew in strength and power. But around the year 509 BC, the last king was overthrown and Rome became a republic. That meant that some citizens could vote for their leaders and other important matters. Only male Roman citizens could cast votes. Women and enslaved people, often brought back as prisoners from military battles, could not. Elected officials included two consuls who acted sort of like today's US presidents and kept each other from taking too much power. Both consuls worked with the senators, who advised the consuls and helped create laws. Senators were appointed by other officials and could hold their positions for life. The Roman army fought many wars during this period, first conquering all of what's now Italy in 146 BC. They destroyed the city of Carthage in modern-day Tunisia in northern Africa, which was Rome's greatest rival for trade in the western Mediterranean Sea. Next, they conquered Greece. In about 500 years, the republic system mostly worked. But then a series of civil wars divided the people. In 59 BC, Gaius Julius Caesar, a politician and military general, used the chaos to take power. Serving as consul, Caesar made new laws that benefited his troops and other regular citizens. Then he conquered what's now France and invaded Britain. Even though his troops and many Roman citizens supported him, the Senate worried he was too powerful and wanted him gone. Knowing this, Caesar marched his loyal army into Rome. It was an illegal act that started a civil war, which Caesar would eventually win. So there he is, a marble bust of Julius Caesar. There he is. You can see him there. At first, he was named dictator for 10 years. Before that, a dictator served during times of emergencies for only 6 months. He cancelled people's debts and granted Roman citizenship to people outside of Italy so they could vote. Caesar also travelled to Egypt, making an alliance with the pharaoh Cleopatra. In 44 BC, Caesar named himself dictator for life. Fearing he was becoming a king, a group of senators killed him on the floor of the Senate. Caesar was gone, but his supporters chased down the assassins. His heir and nephew Octavian and General Mark Antony battled for power. Octavian eventually won and renamed himself Augustus Caesar. The family name Caesar would become a title that future empires would use to connect themselves back to Gaius Julius Caesar. He convinced the Senate to give him absolute power and served successfully for 45 years. After his death, he was declared a god. For the rest of his existence, Rome was ruled by emperors who were not elected. They reigned for life. The Senate was still part of the government, but it had very little power. Some emperors, like Claudius, were good at their jobs. Others, like Nero and Caligula, were so cruel that even their guards turned against them. By AD 117, the Roman Empire included what's now France, Spain, Greece, Egypt, Turkey, parts of Northern Africa, England, Romania, and more. At one point, 1 out of every 4 people in the world lived under Rome's control. But emperors and the Senate found this vast empire difficult to rule from the city of Rome in the year 285. It was split into a Western Roman Empire and an Eastern Roman Empire, known as the Byzantine Empire. The Eastern Roman Empire was ruled from the city of Constantinople, now the modern-day city of Istanbul in Turkey. The Byzantine Empire would last for almost another 1,000 years, but by the Western Empire, Rome began to fall apart. Civil wars, plagues, money troubles, and invasions from other groups made the empire unstable. In the year 476, a Germanic king overthrew Romulus Augustus, the last Roman empire. Life in ancient Rome. Most people in the city of Rome lived in crowded apartment buildings called insulae that were 5 to 7 stories high. Wealthier Romans lived in houses called domus that had a dining room and an atrium, an open-air courtyard that often had a pool at the centre. Some Romans even had vacation homes in Pompeii, I think it's Pompeii, and Herculaneum, 2 Roman cities that were destroyed when Mount Vesuvius erupted in AD 79. Rich or poor Romans gathered to relax, socialize, and clean themselves at Roman baths, like modern spas. These structures had exercise rooms, swimming pools, saunas, hot and cold plunge pools, and massive spaces. The people also gathered to watch plays, chariot races, and gladiator battles. Roman cities enjoyed relaxing, but enslaved people in ancient Rome had a much more difficult life. Many worked in fields, mines, and on ships. Others, like educated Greeks who tutored wealthy children, were forced to work in rich people's homes. However, enslaved people were able to buy or earn their freedom and eventually become Roman citizens. Roman women sometimes worked as midwives, helping to deliver babies, or become priestesses. But in Roman society, women's main role was to look after the home and family, although Romans could easily get divorced. Children legally belonged to the father, or a male relative if he was no longer living. Romans believed in many gods, including the sky god Jupiter, Mars, a god who protected Romans in war, and Vesta, the goddess of the home. People would worship these gods and goddesses both at public temples and in their homes. So, why ancient Rome still matters? Today, the city of Rome is the capital of Italy, with around 3 million people. Visitors can still see many ancient Rome ruins, from the Colosseum to the Rome Forum, where much of ancient Roman politics took place. There's a photo of the Temple of Saturn, which is part of the Roman Forum, where several important. So this is the Temple of Saturn. It is part of the Roman Forum, where several important and ancient government buildings were located. You can see it there. So, but beyond the crumbling buildings, Rome's impact is seen all over the world today. From huge sports stadiums inspired by the Colosseum to the way that we vote for politicians. The republic system of checks and balances on power even inspired the founders of the United States government. If you drive in Europe or the Middle East today, you might be on a route created by the ancient Romans. Those engineers built a system of 50,000 miles of roads that connected the empire, following troops to easily conquer new land and trading to travel and bring back wealth. It's where we get the saying, all roads lead to Rome. So there you can still see the ancient Rome aqueducts like this one in Rome all over the former Roman Empire. You can also thank Roman engineers for perfecting a system for getting running water. They built aqueducts, which were long channels that delivered fresh water from up to 57 miles away for people's baths, fountains, and even toilets. Some ancient aqueducts still provide water to modern-day Rome. Julius Caesar even gave the world its 365-day calendar with an extra day every 4th year, or leap year. The month of July is named after him, and August is named after his successor, Augustus. Well, that's weird because everyone knows what month we're in. We are in July. This is the 6th of July. If you're watching this today, it's the 6th of July. It's Saturday the 6th. Okay, fast facts. The planets Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn are named after Roman gods. Roman gods inspired the names of 2 Western months, January, Janus, and March, Mars. Romans spoke Latin, the language that modern French, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, and Romanian are based on. Ancient Romans used animal and human urine to clean their clothes. A hill in modern-day Rome called Monte Testaccio is an ancient garbage dump made up of smashed pots and jars. Romans sometimes filled the Colosseum with water and had naval battles inside. So, I think we're going to end this video here. So people today can still visit the well-preserved ancient Roman Colosseum in Rome, Italy. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.